all of you, and you're once again most welcome in DSS online English class. Student, as you know that with the chapter, the fight is going on, and we have completed the part one, and I hope so that you got the complete sense and complete meaning of the part one, the fight. You know, student, the fight is a very interesting story which is held between the two, and the two boys think about themselves that both are the rivals for each other. So, student, let me start the story. The part second. At first, we have to understand and we have to answer the question which is asked just before the starting the chapter and the part second. So let at first we discuss the part second. When Ranji got home, he found it difficult to explain the cut and the brushes that showed on his face, leg, and arm. That means when the fight held between two, then definitely it is obvious that the cut marks will appear on the body, and it is happened with the Ranji also. That means there are a lot of cut marks on his face and leg and arms, and which is clearly appeared on his body. So definitely this demands an explanation. And students, if these things happen with you and the cut marks will appear on your face and on your body, then definitely your parents will ask na, by how these things has happened, what happened with you. Such question can be asked by your parents. This may be. It was difficult to conceal the fact that he had been in an unusual violent fight. So, students, it is so it was difficult to conceal the fact that he had been in an unusual violent fight, and this mother insisted on his staying at home for the rest of the day. And for this, definitely his freedom will be obscured by his mother. By the by the by the fear of these things, he just denied or reconcile or try to hide the real facts from his mother. That evening, though, he slipped out of the house and went to the bazaar, where he found comfort and solace in a bottle of vivid colored lemonade and a banana leaf full of hot sweet jalebis. And on that evening, he went secretly to the market and want to take these things what I have explained about the bottle solace, a vivid bottle of solace, and laminates kinds of a soup or you can say the juice of things where he found the comfort vivid, colored laminate, bananas, etc. And the hot jalebis also. He just finished the laminate when he saw his adversary coming down to the road, and he finished his jalebis and other laminates and soles, etc. When he saw that his adversary is coming down the road, adversary here means the enemy, his rivals. His first impulse was to turn away and look elsewhere. At first, he thinks that turn his face toward any other direction and saw something else, but is the second throw the laminate bottle at his enemy. And the second reaction was to throw the laminate bottle on the turn to Israel. The second threw the laminate bottle at his enemy, but he did neither of these things. But he didn't do these things. मीन्स स्टूडेंट वो चाहता था, पहले वो सोचा कि वो अपनी एनिमी की तरफ देखे ही ना, दूसरी बार वो सोचता है कि बॉटल ही उसके ऊपर मार दें, लेकिन उसने ऐसा किया नहीं। इन दोनों चीज़ों को नहीं किया क्योंकि he want to show something gentleness. Instead, He stood his ground and growled at his passing adversary, and he keeps on looking his passing adversary means वो अपने rivals को जाते हुए देखता रहा. And the warrior said nothing either, but called back with equal ferocity, and he neither take an action, neither show any ridiculous things while his adversary was passing from there. The next day, was as hot as the previous one, and the next day it was also a hot day, just like a previous day. जैसे पिछला दिन जितना काफी हॉट था उतना ही आज का दिन भी उतना ही गर्म था. Ranji felt weak and lazy and not at all eager to the fight. And today Ranji was feeling tiredness and he wanted to take comfort, and he has no longer desire to fight to anyone. His body was stiff and sore after the previous day's encounter, and his body was also become injured, and there was a lot of sores appears on his body. So he wanted to take rest, and he neither longer desired to fight with anyone. So he want to take what, student? He want to take rest, but he couldn't refuse the challenge. But more thing is that he could not refuse the challenge. Not to turn up at the pool would be an acknowledgement of defeat. Neither he can accept his defeat because challenge. अक्सर आप लोग भी कुछ किसी बात को लेकर एक दूसरे से शर्त लगा लेते हो, and for the fulfillment of the challenge, you are ready to do what the things is required. जो भी चीजें जरूरत होती है ना, आप सब करने को तैयार हो जाते हो. Just like the things is happening here with the Ranji. From the way he felt just then, he knew he would be beaten in another fight. And from this way, he felt just then he knew he would be beaten in the another fight. And for doing these things, it means that he will accept his defeat. So he denied to accept the defeat, and for this he has to fight. But he couldn't exercise in his own defeat, and he don't want to accept quietly. He didn't want to accept his defeatness. He must defy his enemy to the last or outwit him, for only then could he gain his respect. And he want to gain victory to regain his respect. For he don't want to show himself as a mayor in front of his enemy, because it was a matter of challenge. वो अपने दुश्मन के सामने अपने आप को छोटा नहीं बनाना चाहता था, इसलिए वो लड़ाई को छोड़ना ही नहीं चाहता. मतलब उसने डिसाइड कर लिया कि नहीं, he would be fight, उसे फाइट करना होगा. But to fight and be beaten today left him free to fight and to be beaten again as long as he fought. He had right to the pull in the forest, and for this he thinks that he has equal right of the pull as his enemy or adversary had. उसे लगता है कि उसकी भी उस पुल पर उतना ही राइट था जितना कि उसके एनिमी का था. He was half hoping that the warrior would have forgotten the challenge, but these hopes were dashed when he saw his opponent sitting stripped out of the waist on a rock on the other side of the pool. Here some interesting things happened. He thinks that his rival forgot about all things, what the things has happened, what the challenges happened between two. But he became surprised when he saw that his rival, his adversary, was sitting on rock and waiting for his turn, and waiting for the challenge, waiting for the fight. जब उसने देखा, पहले तो वो सोचा कि उसका फ्रेंड जो उसका राइवल है वो उस चैलेंज को भूल गया होगा, आ जाएगा नहीं, फाइट नहीं होगी. लेकिन वो देख के बहुत ज़्यादा सरप्राइज हो जाता है कि उसका जो राइवल है वो ऑलरेडी पहले से ही वो कहाँ पे एक चट्टान पे बैठा हुआ है और वो वेट कर रहा है. दैट मीन्स इट्स द कंडीशन इज अबाउट टू गोइंग अ वेरी सीरियस. कंडीशन बहुत ज़्यादा सीरियस होने जा रहा था. The warrior was rubbing oil on his body. He saw Ranji beneath the salt tree and called a challenge across the water of the pool. And he was rubbing oil on his tree and saw that Ranji was sitting under a salt tree. Come over on this side and fight, he shouted. And he shouted from the other direction that comes here and fight with me. That means वो दूसरे साइड से कहता है कि यहाँ आओ और मुझसे फाइट करो, यहाँ और मुझसे फाइट करो. But Ranji was not going to submit to any condition laid down by this opponent. But Ranji was not in such a condition to give answer of his enemy. So come this side and fight, he shouted back the equal value. So Ranji also shouted in the same tone that no, I would not come. You come this side and fight with me with an equal term. मीन्स रंजी ने कहा नहीं नहीं मैं उस साइड नहीं आऊँगा, तुम आओ यहाँ पे और मेरे साथ लड़ो. इन द सेम टोन. Swim across and fight me here, called the other. Or perhaps you cannot swim the length of this pool. Then the second said that swim across the river and come here and fight with me. Otherwise, you are not permitted to swim in this pool. And this pool belongs to me. And you have to accept your defeat. But Ranji couldn't have swum the length of the pool and dozen times without tiring. Here he would show the warrior his superiority. But Ranji could have swum the length of the pool, and also his adversary says that you haven't tried, you have not a dare to swim this pool. And he didn't know the reality that Ranji has a dozen times passed the pool by swimming, and he knows that the length of the pool. So slipped out his waist, he dived straight into the water, cutting through like a knife, and surfaced with a hardly splash. The warrior's mouth hung open in an instant, and then he just jumped into the pool, and began to swim and reached toward his enemy. So, student, from there we have to study today, and rest of the things we'll discuss the next time.